Bibliophiles of the internet, my name's Adriana and today I'm here to bring you the aesthetically pleasing book tag. This tag was created by Jen from Book Syrup and I was not tagged, but I saw this video on Reggie's channel, Don't Stop Reading, and she is an incredible, thoughtful booktuber who I highly recommend, so I will link both of their videos down below. Now, we all know, myself especially, that the most important part of any book is the story within, but as a book collector and someone who enjoys and admires books as physical objects and things of beauty, I own so many books that incorporate fantastic, spectacular design elements that really deserve to be acknowledged, and this is a tag that celebrates that. So with that said, let's do this. Number 1, best color combo on a book cover. I sort of instinctually gravitated towards The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Alere-Sainz. I really love this design and color scheme, how there's this starry, nebulous sky at the forefront and the colors kind of have this ombre effect as they transition from deep purples and blues to lighter blues and almost greens that really emphasize the silhouettes of the characters. Then that bright gold lettering really stands out against this background image, and it's something that almost seems incongruous, like it shouldn't work, but it makes a lot of sense as you actually open the book and you see those really bold end papers and the continued motif of that gold font on the inside dust jacket flap. So overall, it's an incredible design for an incredible story. Number 2, best use of typography or font. For this, I chose the UK edition of The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. First of all, what's really cool is that if you run your hand over this cover, you can feel each individual divot in the armor, which is a really great detail. But as for the typography, I think it's really smart that it matches the exact red of the surrounding material, and it's ever so slightly foiled. So if you tip it just a little bit, you can really see the shine, and so it just seems appropriately royal and majestic. Number 3, best simple design. I have to give this one to I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I'm just really drawn to these incredible vibrant colors on this cover, and I love how they kept this design so minimalist. They could have easily put a literal sun on this book, but instead they're sort of giving you the impression of a sun, the idea of a sun. And I think it's important to note that the impression they're giving you is not of like a scientifically accurate sun. It's sort of a reference to that childish idea and image of a sun where you have the orb, which in this case is the actual title, and then these visible rays sort of exploding outwards and surrounding it. Number 4, best end pages. For this one, I chose The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. For the record, this is one of the most beautiful books that I own. It's one of my favorites. This is a really special anniversary edition, and when you take off the dust jacket, you can see this intricate, incredible foil work where the cover image is actually embossed on the naked hardback. The map, which I love, is actually the end papers in this book, so it's nice and big and clear, and I think it's a really great detail that all of it is drawn in blue. But what's really cool is that you can actually trace all of Milo's journey just looking at this map. You can see where he starts in the doldrums, you can see Dictionopolis, the Island of Conclusions, Valley of Sound, the Mountains of Ignorance. So if you just take the time to take in all of these great details, it's all here. Number 5, best map in a book. For this one, I have to give it up to The Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. Every story set in the Grisha world sort of starts off with this really beautiful, intricate map of the entire world and of Ravka specifically, and I just love all of the details and the darkness and just the entire aesthetic of this map. What's great about Six of Crows specifically is that it has a map of the prison, which is where the target of this heist is located. So not only is it beautiful because it's really great to look at, you can see how it's really sketched out, not really refined. I love the heavy-handedness of the details, but it's also functional because I was always looking back at this map and sort of using it as a reference to see where the characters were. And then again, in Crooked Kingdom, you have the same sort of thing where you have a map of the overall world, but then you have a really specific map of Ketterdam, which is where the actual story takes place. And again, this is just a really beautifully detailed map. I love the darkness and the heavy-handed lines. You can really get a feel for all the different districts and locales that are really central to this story, and I just think it's a really fantastic design. Number 6, best naked hardback. I was actually surprised by how many options I ended up having, but I narrowed it down to 2, and the first is Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. Once you take off the dust jacket, you can see this really incredible design that comes from one of the full-page spreads in this graphic novel, which by the way is about a restaurant, which is what you can see here, and it's sort of laid out as a floor plan, which is cool because you can see all the different rooms and characters and what they're doing, and I just think it's really, really neat. My second choice is Liesel and Poe by Lauren Oliver. First of all, this is just a really beautifully designed cover. I love the colors and the imagery. I love the gold foiled corners and borders and all these intricate details that sort of make it feel like a really dark fairy tale book. But when you take off the dust jacket, what could possibly prepare you for this full-blown, full color, fully illustrated image actually on the hardback itself? That's sort of an expansion of that cover image. And then it sort of continues onto the spine, and we finish out on the back with this beautifully illustrated image of a willow tree. And just like as a whole, this has to render you powerless, because what else is there to say? Number 7, best back cover. I immediately knew I had to choose this incredible edition of Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Where to begin, really? There's so much beauty and thought put into every single minuscule detail in this design, in this whole book, and this entire packaging just has me shook. From the coloring, to the incredible foil details, to the stained pages and the title page, just like everything is right. But amidst all this majesty and beauty, I think what really stands out is this sensational back cover where you have the repeated motif of this moth-like creature, but it's redone. Instead of foil, it's done in these dark blue colors, which really stand out against that nebulous, starry background and those clouds, which are just giving me so much life. And then you have the great placement of this quote above it. My only question is, are you freaking serious? Number 8, best chapter headers. As for a novel that has really interesting headers, I thought of Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. What stood out to me about these headers is that not only do they look great, but they're also functional, because the story switches between 2 different points of view. So in some chapters you will see the silhouette of a little boy's head that represents Peter, and then when it switches to Pax's chapters, you can see the silhouette of a fox. I think it's a really thoughtful, creative way to signal visually that you're switching perspectives. Number 9, best illustrations. For this I chose the Ever Never Handbook by Soman Chinani. This is just a really fun sort of companion to the School for Good and Evil series. It's jam-packed with these incredible extras about the fairy tale world and these 2 different schools, how they work, the people who populate these worlds, profiles on the students, that kind of stuff. And it is fully colored, fully illustrated. I think it's illustrated by Michael Blank, and his work in this is brilliant. Number 10, best spine. Of course, for this one I had to cheat because I couldn't just pick one book, I had to pick an entire series, and that was The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I can't emphasize enough how much I love seeing these spines together on the shelf. I love that each individual book has its own distinctive color, but that color does not dominate the spine. You can just kind of see a thin strip of it, and then there's white space around the edges, and you can see the cover designs for all 4 books sort of spilling over onto the spines, and it's so satisfying in a way that I can't even articulate. And finally, number 11, favorite cover on your shelves. It obviously had to be this breathtaking edition of Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Again, where to begin when you're talking about perfection? I love the lightness of this design. I love this white backdrop that's so prominent. I love the pastel color scheme, these dark purples and the way they work against these light mint colors, the incredible gold foiling detail everywhere, the symbolism in the cover, which is surrounded by nature, and how the shadow of the tower is sort of looming over the entire village. It's just incredible. Like, what is this? So those are just a few of the aesthetically pleasing books I have on my shelves. I'm just gonna say, if you own any of the books I mentioned in this video and you want to do this tag yourself, then I tag you. But that is everything I had for this tag today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye.